Welcome. My name is Michael, the movie Mamba Ornelas. That over there is Erica, the feisty Pisces McMullen. And we have Adrian, the new reigning draft king, Gerber, baby-faced assassin,
Hey,
Cedeno.
hey. Happy to be here.
Today,
I told you.
Where's my crown? Should have worn my crown.
I had a sense that once the draft was over, I was like, if Adrian's ever got a shot to break his losing streak, this is the one. So congratulations.
Thank you.
That's not
Thank
what
you.
we're talking about. We did enough talking about your draft. On to what we're talking about today. We are reviewing The Girl with the Needle. But first, have you seen this? We had the Critics' Choice Awards, the DGA and PGA, Directors Guild and Producers Guild, award ceremonies over this past week. And the big winner from those is Anora, which won Best Picture across all three of these award ceremonies. Historically speaking, the winners of like the DGA Best Picture, I think it's something like 9 out of 10 times has gone on to win at the Oscars. So a big win for Anora. I don't think we didn't do a review on that one, but I think we'll probably have the Oscar themed episode coming up where we'll talk about some of the nominated movies that we haven't done a full episode on. But some other movies I wanted to touch on that were winners at the Critics' Choice Award, some of the movies we've discussed and liked. Rebel Ridge won for Best Made for TV Movie.
Nice.
I didn't even know that was a category, but well deserved.
I saw that.
Another one that when we were talking about like best TV shows in our last episode, a show I completely forgot, but honestly, I probably enjoyed it more than Baby Reindeer. X-Men 97 won Best Animated Series Award.
Yes. Oh, that's exciting.
That was such a good first season.
I accidentally started watching it thinking it was the X-Men from 97. So I was like, oh, sweet. And I'm 3 episodes deep. Like, what the heck is going on here? Like, I don't remember this.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's great because it did such a good job of capturing that time while
It
still
did.
like
Mhm.
progressing the story forward, right? So I'm looking forward to the next seasons. And then your show, Adrian, Shogun, won for Best Drama Series.
Yeah, boy.
So,
that was a good one. You need to watch it.
I do. I'm only an episode in. I'm going through The Wire right now. I'm trying to finish The Wire. I'm almost done with the first season. Things are starting to pick up.
Well, aren't you like 10 years too late for The Wire?
Yeah, I know. But you gotta cover your blind. You gotta cover your blind spots, man. You know, I'm doing the work now. Just a couple quick other winners I think are related to what we talked about on the pod. Nosferatu wins for Best Cinematography, Critics' Choice.
I was
And
very
then-
happy about that.
And then for you, Erica, another one. Macy Stella wins for Best Young Actress for My Old Ass, the lead
I
of My
love
Old
that.
Ass. She did a great job.
love that. Yeah, she did. She really did.
It was very nice to see that.
I mean, that's like it's such a hard thing to capture when like you have an actor, because you're like learning as it goes. You know what I mean? You have an actor who's playing another character and you have to play that same character, but in a different perspective. Yeah, she did a really good job.
Yeah, and I think these are categories that should be in the Oscars, like Best Breakthrough Performance, Best Directorial Debut, First Time Movie Maker, you know, things like this would be
Yeah,
great.
because then you would just have like a bunch more people who would
Tune
get
in.
their films recognized. You know,
And people tune in for these new younger generation actors or directors, and you know, aspiring cinephiles would tune in. But listen, we're not here to direct the Oscars, not yet. One of our favorite movies we discussed, moving on from the award circuit, though they are nominated for multiple awards, is Flow is going to be re-releasing in IMAX on Valentine's Day, February 14th. So an opportunity for you guys that haven't seen Flow yet, want to see it in the big screen, which I would actually encourage because it's very visually stimulating. Go check that out on IMAX. Last couple things. Your girl, Sarah Michelle Gellar, has confirmed the development of Buffy the Vampire Slayer sequel.
I saw that.
Historically, she said she doesn't like the idea of sequels, like, you know, it's just money grabs. But she said if there's the right idea, right script, she'll do it. So I guess they found...
They must have had something good because she's been saying that for years.
Yeah. And it'll be interesting for this new generation, what's their take on Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Sarah Michelle Gellar. Like, that's probably new to a lot of... You think Anthony knows Sarah Michelle Gellar?
I mean,
I don't
maybe
think-
from a Scooby-Doo. She was
maybe.
Daphne in one of the Scooby Doo's.
Yeah,
Mm.
Maybe.
Mm.
Like that
Maybe
was kind of his time when he was a kid watching it. He watched that movie a lot, so he might recognize her from that movie. But other than that, I don't think he would recognize her.
Just a shout out to
Or
my
Freddie
favorite.
Prince.
A shout out to my favorite Sarah Michelle Gellar movie. Why am I blanking on it right now as I look at Adrian's face? Maybe if I don't look at you. Come on with what's her name?
You're not helping us at all.
Reese Witherspoon and Ryan
Ryan
Philippe.
Phillippe.
Yeah. Cruel Intentions.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I was like, it's scandalous. What was it called?
Yeah. This is the theme on the show. We have it right there. But anyways, last piece of movie news. There's a new Smurfs movie coming. You seen this? It's going to be hitting theaters July 18th. And you know who's playing Smurfette? Your girl Riri. Rihanna voicing Smurfette.
I'm
There you
dead
go.
that you had to shout out the Smurf.
Coming out. You know, there's some Smurfs fans. You guys, listen, a lot of the movies we cover are a lot heavier, not so family friendly. So we got to, appeal to.
What a great segue into our movie review today.
Into our movie review, which is not family friendly.
No.
It's not feel good movie of the year. But let's jump into it. Let's talk our review of The Girl with the Needle.
Have you seen this?
Have you seen this?
Have you seen this?
I know, I've seen this. I know this.
So as mentioned, this one's a bit heavy, a bit dark. I was really curious what your guys' thoughts were as I was watching the movie, specifically Adrian, I think, because this isn't a genre I think you ever dabble in. So maybe you kick us off, Adrian. What'd you think about The Girl with the Needle?
Let me start off with what genre is this? Since I don't know what
Excellent.
horror is, I
Actually,
don't know what would this be considered.
You know what, Adrian, you bring up an excellent point. Something we do here at the podcast is we take feedback from our viewers. And one thing, some feedback I got is that when we do our review, we don't necessarily provide like a description of the movie up front. So it's hard to really get the context of some of the points we make, right? So thank you for that wonderful feedback. What we'll do from here on out, well, you didn't provide it, but you reminded me. Thank you. What we'll do from here on out is we'll continue to build on our relationship with Letterboxd, and I will read the description provided by Letterboxd for the movie. So let's start there. The Girl with the Needle is directed by Magnus von Horn, and this is its synopsis. Struggling to survive in post-World War I Copenhagen, a newly unemployed and pregnant young woman is taken in by a charismatic elder to help run an underground adoption agency. The two form an unexpected bond until a sudden discovery changes everything. So to answer your question, Adrian, what kind of genre is this? I think it's a drama.
Yes, definitely.
It's a drama. I don't think it's a horror.
No. I don't think it's horror, but I would say maybe biography. I thought maybe it did say inspired by true events at the end.
So here's the thing. Let me get prepared. PTSD is already kicking in. This is, in fact, like you said, inspired by true events. It's very hard to talk about specifics of this movie because things pick up right from the beginning. I mean, pretty early on, some spoiler-related things happen, even how she became pregnant, for example, right? But to your question, I think it's a drama with a hint of thriller behind it.
Kind of like a little bit of like that psychological aspect to it.
So I do see these kind of movies.
Okay.
I do watch them. I did not particularly enjoy this one, nor would I have watched this regularly. I would have maybe got a few minutes into it. 30 minutes into it, I was already like, this is not for me. So I do watch them, but I did not appreciate this one very much.
Do you feel like the subject matter wasn't for you, or is it like it wasn't a good movie? What?
No, I mean it was a good movie in the sense it was shot well. It was the way it drew out the story was done well. It wasn't too slow. It kind of hit all its points. I like that it was in black and white. It really gave it an authentic feel. Like it felt like I was watching something that was real. And I think that's probably why it was a little too heavy. And you know, once it got to the point, and I was like, oh man, this is not definitely what I would want to watch again.
Right. Okay, fair enough. Erica, what were you thinking as you were watching this?
Well, I do want to say before we get started that if
Please.
anybody is interested in watching this movie, we once we get into the details, we will give you a trigger warning. There are a lot of things that happen in this movie that are just very difficult to stomach. And that's coming from me. Like, I love a very wide range of movies.
Mm,
This one was a little bit difficult for me. As far as like the pace goes. I wasn't really a fan of how slow it developed. I know that you
mm,
said pretty quickly things happen, but I felt like in its entirety, I think the movie felt a little bit too long.
okay,
It
interesting.
took a little bit too long to tell the story that was happening. Because there are certain things that happen in certain time periods where you can skip over because you know that that's what's happening, if that makes sense, especially when it comes to wartime or post-wartime, all that kind of
Mm,
stuff. Um, yeah, not like kind of Adrian with this one, not something that I enjoyed too much.
lovely. I think the
Oh,
next question you guys are asking is why the hell did I pick this movie for us to cover?
I don't know
Um,
if we've had a real like feel good movie yet.
Flow. Flow was
Flow was
nice.
I
Flow
mean,
was
even then,
kind
that's
of
not like
bad.
feel good. It's still like very
That
emotional,
was still
very
very
like yeah,
introspective.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we want casual viewing for our next episode.
We're gonna need to do like a throwback Thursday and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
watch
How about
something
something?
goofy.
Yeah, something makes us laugh. How about
Okay, fair enough. Fair
that?
enough. Silence of the Lambs it is. So interesting to hear your guys' options, but to get to why this movie, it is in fact nominated for Best International Film. And I had heard a lot about it. I didn't know much about the movie going into it. But it seemed interesting enough the way it was shot. I didn't really even see a trailer of it, so I really had no idea what to anticipate. Um, yeah, a lot happens that is very heavy, and thank you, Erica, for the upcoming trigger warnings because there are things about this movie that are very disturbing. I think to shed some positive light on this movie, I really did like how it kind of took the story, and I'm trying not to spoil anything at this point, but it took the story of an individual and really inverted it from the inside out to see the day-to-day
The
actions or
environment that
the
caused it.
environment that caused the situation, the people involved. So yeah, I'll limit my conversation to that. I think we should just dive into spoilers to talk freely about it. But it is beautifully shot. I think one thing it does really well is play with shadows in a different
Yes.
way, than Nosferatu did. I think Nosferatu
Mhm.
did it in a way to kind of like tell their story and add to a visual dynamic to it. But I think with this one, the shadows are very contrast, like they're very dark, they're very sharp, and they're used as well, I think, as metaphors at time. But the way it looked on the screen was very aesthetically pleasing outside of the context of what was actually happening. But without further ado, let's just get into spoilers to avoid tiptoeing and talk more freely. So, spoiler warning for The Girl with the Needle.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler territory. Wow. I don't even know where to begin. I don't know if we should just start from the beginning of the movie
I
and
feel like you
go
got
through.
started at the end on this.
So, hold
Interesting.
on.
Okay.
So,
Go ahead,
for
Erica.
anybody moving forward, if there are any women that have trouble in regards to abortion or child death, anything like that, like this would be your time to stop listening. We won't be mad. Like, we understand that that's triggers for some people. So if you don't want to hear anything about those topics, you can pass along now.
And this movie's not for you.
That's
If
Yeah,
you
movie is
can't
not.
hear us
yeah,
talk
yeah.
about it, you're probably not going to watch it. But um, okay, I'm going to lean on what Adrian said. Actually, let's start at the end. I think the big reveal is that this is a serial killer, right? that
Yes.
that our main character is dealing with. Let me get their
So-
names here together.
So I'll be a
Caroline.
little a positive note on it, trying to flip it as positive as possible. It kind of had that feel of like the Avengers Endgame, like she was
With
doing it for the
okay.
greater good. Like none of you guys want to do it. I'm doing it for the greater good. These kids are going to suffer anyways because none of you guys want to raise them. You know what I mean? That kind of a vibe.
Well, let's have that context, right? We find out that this underground adoption agency that is run by this older woman named Dagmar, she takes unwanted children,
She charges
collects
a fee. Yes.
collects a
To
fee.
take their children and then find them an adoption family, a foster family to take them in. But
Correct.
she's charging them a fee to take their baby and then supposedly find somebody.
Correct. And not until the last act of the movie do we really discover that she's just offing these babies. She's just killing these babies. Let's start there just to say what I meant when it inverts a story. Like, I love a serial killer movie. I love true crime. I love these kind of things. This is a completely different angle to a serial killer's story. I think if you come into this movie, I often say go into a movie blind. But I think if you go into this one knowing that, I mean, but that's kind of the reveal as part of it,
I went
right?
in
It's hard to
blind.
know.
Yeah.
It's hard to go in knowing the twist. But
Yeah,
I
because
think
you
it's
wouldn't watch it.
Well, I would. I'd actually be more intrigued. Like, if you say it's about a serial killer, I'm in. So I think
Okay,
just
now if they add one word, I promise you probably would turn off of it. If they said it's about a serial baby killer, you'd probably be like, I'm not watching it.
I would hesitate, but I'm probably gonna I'm probably gonna check it out. But all that to say that I think it's interesting to both your points, Erica. One, to say like how this is about abortion, because she attempts to do a self-abortion when she gets impregnated. Maybe this is where we go back to the start.
Well, I think that's what messes with her so much in the end when she's just not in her right mind. Like, there's that where she's huffing and taking those like drops in her mouth to like not
The
feel
ether.
anything.
Yeah.
The ether. But it's just so I'm sure by that point she's so traumatized because she did think that she wanted to kill her baby. She did think that she wanted to abort it. And then when it was there, she said, you know what? No, I have somebody that will give you to a loving home. And then to find out that her baby was murdered.
But she wanted him back. She wanted her baby back. Like the next day, just like others, as soon as they give the baby up, they come back and like, no, I want my baby back. Oh, well, it's already been taken care of. You understand the urgency of a matter like this. So I don't know. It was interesting, the emotions that go on, because you imagine those are still emotions that go on to this day with people making decisions like this. It's just the depression part of it. And when I say like depression, I mean like economic depression type of it. That whole aspect I think was interesting and added to it. Yeah. The war was just ending and her husband is supposedly lost at war. She hasn't heard from him in over a year. And then she ends up, trying to
There's just so
hook up
many
with somebody else.
that like broke her down. Like, it was like one thing after another that just she finally broke at the end when we find out, like you said, a serial baby killer. I would have been devastated. Yeah, that's just devastating,
Well, absolutely. And just to consider, like, how long has this been going on? I'm sure, considering the timeline, there's plenty of women that got pregnant before their husbands or whoever left to war and then was killed.
She did like 37 in her notebook, they said, like when she's in court. We have a total of 37 written down. There was probably more than that.
Yeah. And just the way, like, it gets us in this place where She takes this job at a factory, ends up hooking up with like the guy running the factory. What was his name? Jurgen, I think his name is.
To just have
Yeah.
his mom be
Jurgen.
like, nah, she's not gonna marry you.
Well,
Like,
like they're hooking up. They're like in the alleyway of of the street, and ends
But
up
that's
getting
also like that desperation, right?
yeah.
Like she thinks her husband is dead. Like
hmm
I think that was like a huge thing for me is like the desperation throughout like the entire film. Just kind of like it kind of leaves you feeling just like so empty like throughout the whole film.
well, because you can't tell if you should feel bad for this girl or if you really just don't like her. Like, you're
You
just a
mean
bad person.
you mean Caroline, right? The
Right,
main.
right.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
is she a good person? I don't know. Is she just a victim of circumstance? I don't know. It's kind of playing with that fine line. Like, maybe she's just doing what she has to survive. Well, maybe she's just a bad person too.
What leads you to feel that she could be a bad person?
Well, she's staying in a place where she hasn't been paying, and then she tries to like
Mm,
scare the. This is the opening scene. You know, she's about to get evicted, and there's a lady with her daughter trying to take this room from them. The landlord's trying to show this room, like, hey, this is available. She hasn't paid in a while, and she's trying to like convince the girl, like scare the little girl out of wanting this house. So she yells at her mom, and then she gets slapped. Like, it just opens
I
up with
think
her
you
being a
were
dirty person, like, in my
I know, but
opinion.
I think you were on the right track of more saying like it was a matter of circumstance because like you said, we are post-war. Um, they're switching up their routine. She has to find another job. She's now pregnant. Like she can't afford food probably because or if she can't afford food, then she can't afford the home that she's living in, and the home is still a piece of shit, but it's still really expensive. I think a lot of the stuff did happen as a matter of circumstance and where she was left. Because I mean, you see that a lot with especially in those times when women were widowed, and if they were lucky enough to remarry, that was great because they had somebody else to take care of them. You have to remember too, they didn't really this was like the first time that women were like allowed to work and allowed to like do certain things. And
She had a job. That was the
yeah,
point. Like,
luckily,
she
you know
had
what
a
I mean,
job.
like
It just seemed like, I don't know. It didn't. It rubbed me the wrong way from the beginning.
mm.
Like, like I said, it was playing with that fine line with whether she was a good person or, you know what, is she a victim of circumstance? And it's really playing with it delicately because she's going through a lot, and you see, like, man, it sucks around her. But I'm sure she's not the only one, and I'm sure she's a part of the decision she's made and put her where she's at. um she could have probably paid some of the rent. She doesn't need to wait until, hey, I'm showing the room, oh, I got money for you. Well, yeah, but you're 4 months behind, like.
Agent's coming from the business standpoint, like, hey, bills are due, baby. You don't pay your bills, you're a bad person.
No, it's not
Um,
just that, but
yeah, no, I get you.
I'm sure there's decisions that led up to her not being able to pay your bills. Like,
Sure, absolutely. Yeah,
you
I
don't have a
mean,
kid, you're not like dependent, you have a job,
what
you know what I mean? Like,
her husband didn't write back to her for a whole year.
mhm.
So like she's struggling. You have to I mean, this is the thing you have to realize like back then, the way that women were meant to be dependent on a man for their income, there's no way in hell that she was working at that factory and getting paid the same amount that the men were.
Or anything similar to a
Or
there were
livable
no men
anything
there.
wage.
more.
The only man there was the owner. it was
Well,
Well,
it was nothing but women.
but in
at
a
the second
higher,
place, yeah,
yeah,
in a higher place. But then think of it that way. Those were the only jobs that women were essentially allowed to do.
and end of the day, she ends up getting impregnated by
Yeah.
her employer, who then says he'll marry her until they meet mom. Mom's like, you're outside of your goddamn mind. He's never gonna marry you, and like puts
Mhm.
him in his place. I saw a letterbox review that said this should be a warning to any women trying to date a man that lives with his mom. Still, don't do it.
Fair.
Which is what's a good interpretation
Accurate,
of the movie.
accurate.
Yeah. Um, but that then propels the rest of the story, right? Like she doesn't want the baby now if this guy that she thought she was going to marry, which again, her decision making is like fair, but she couldn't help getting that's complicated, as such as life and those situations.
Like I said, the fine line. Like,
Sure.
do you really need to be getting down in an alley? I don't know. Like,
Hey.
I don't think good people necessarily may need to do that in the middle of the alley, like outside of work.
Greece does
So,
weird things
I'm just
to
saying,
people.
like,
Europe is much more liberal when it comes to sexual aspects compared to the American populace. We like our violence here. So she ends up, I think one of the more graphic parts is probably when she tries to give herself the self-abortion. She's in a bathhouse.
with like a railroad spike. I know it says needle, but that thing was like a 6-inch.
It was big.
Wood needle, like framing needle.
Yeah, and it was just at that point of the movie, you still don't really know what you're watching yet. Like, I didn't necessarily know what direction this was going. It's like, oh, a spa day sounds great. Like, oh, this is relaxing, and whoa, does it turn corner, right?
Yeah.
And that's where she actually meets Dagmar, who is the one running this adoption agency. And it's, as you were talking earlier, Erica, it made me think, I wonder if she goes to these bathhouses to kind of like scout.
Yes.
Like she's
100%.
scouting there. Yeah.
100%. Because the way we're thinking about it as she's a serial killer, like baby serial killer, right? What a perfect fucking opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm.
To convince a poor woman to carry her baby, and then you will take care of it. You'll make sure that it gets a good home. What a perfect way to make sure that you always have a baby to fulfill your needs.
I don't know. I think at the time that was their bathhouse. Like they didn't just take baths anywhere. So I don't know that she's just necessarily scouting, but I think she's just opportunity, presented itself, and as it would, because it's like a locker room at a gym. Like you're gonna see naked women when you're walking around in your locker room. You know what I mean? So I don't know that she's there scouting, but I'm sure she's there. And while I'm here, if I see something,
it's an added bonus.
Opportunity.
Yeah.
So yeah, that sets everything in motion, and then the husband comes back. He survived the war,
but he's disfigured.
A lot of movies this year are really in conversation with each other in different ways. I mean, you say disfigured, so obviously I think of like A Different Man. But I know you guys haven't seen this one yet, but The Brutalist is very much in conversation with this movie about like that one's post-Holocaust. This is post-World War I, and the system, infrastructure, country, however you want to chalk it up, is taking advantage of these vulnerable people. And with this movie, the war veteran who's come back injured has now lost his life. Like, this is one area where I think she could have had a little bit more tact, where she's like, so you gotta go. I've moved on. I'm pregnant.
Found somebody.
Like, this guy just came back. Probably the only reason he survived was thinking of her or some romantic shit like that. Shows up and she's just like, no, you gotta go. You gotta leave. Which was pretty harsh.
He didn't write to her for a year.
I mean,
should not be okay. This is my
I don't
only
know.
thing is
if you're talking about emotions, dude just lost his face.
No, I get that, but she did not know that he was alive. Like, she had been trying to petition for that widow money for a very long time, as it seemed.
Yeah.
And at what point is it acceptable to give up hope on that kind of thing, especially during wartime? Like you said, she maybe could have done it a little bit more delicately.
Yeah, she was just quick with it. She was like, she had thought about it. If this guy ever shows up, nah, I'm out. But that kind of has some weird connotations to the relationship that she has and moving forward. She completely dismisses him, and then later in the story kind of welcomes him back, especially when she's taking care of a baby, because now, fast forward, she's joined what was her name again?
Dagmar.
Dagmar, join
Oh,
Dagmar in taking care of these babies and is the one actually feeding because she just had
She's
a
the wet
baby.
nurse. Yeah.
So she's able to feed these children that come in, and she's bought in, and she's essentially contributing to this underground adoption agency that's killing babies, which she doesn't know yet. But I just found it very interesting that she got a baby that she thought she was going to be able to like claim as her own. Her old man is back in the picture, and it's about the image of family that I think she's trying to cling on to, which she thought she lost going through this whole ordeal.
oh.
And again, to your point, Erica, it speaks of desperation, like desperate people doing really desperate things. Overall, I think one thing that I really appreciated, again, I'm trying to be positive on this heavy movie. One other thing I appreciated, when we kind of alluded to earlier, is the way it was shot. I think it was, for such a heavy movie and the content being done, it was a very beautiful movie as far as the contrast of black and white within each scene, the way shadows were used. The score was really good. I think it really helped us kind of flow through the movie. To your point, Erica, you said it felt long, or it was too long.
There were there were like some parts where it's like, this sequence does not have to be that long. Like, we're getting what the point is. Because I think if it would have went a little bit faster and got you to the point a little bit faster, that yes. But when you said earlier about how it was more of like day-to-day life when it happens, I think for me that makes more sense on why it was so slow. But yeah, just a little bit too slow for me.
We're just so accustomed to, like, if this was an American film, by the second act, that would be the reveal, is that this is the serial killer. But like,
And then there's a good plot twist at
and
the
then
end.
yeah, right. Whereas here, it's like, no, we're just seeing the day to day and like things that transpire over the course of the reveal until we lead up to the reveal.
So what really turned me off was when she like jumps out the window trying to kill herself and then
Sure,
doesn't die, and then she's moving, and then
you just really didn't like her. You're like, she should be dead.
no. I mean, not even then. Like I said, I have sympathy for her. I definitely, and I just think the movie was playing with that line between. I think she may have been a good person that was just pushed to the brink, and I think that's a part of it. Like that's what war does to people, and like in a normal situation, I think she could have probably been a good mom and a good wife and had a happy family, but
Yeah.
circumstances, threw a curveball.
One of my favorite parts, though, and I will say this because this is actually really clever to do if you know anything about serial killers, was when the daughter tries to smother the baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
it
this is like
really,
Dagmar's daughter, or like
Dagmar's
quote
daughter.
unquote. Yeah.
Yeah, because you
She's
don't
like
really
8 years old.
Yeah. So I love that because if we know anything about like serial killer tendencies, it tends to be like hereditary. And even if it wasn't her child, she's in this environment that is telling her that it's okay. And so to kind of like see like that birth of a new one as she's like trying to smother the baby, it was kind of like, oh shit, like they're really going for it.
She was just
right
jealous
now.
that Caroline wouldn't breastfeed her.
Breastfeed her anymore.
Yeah,
Wouldn't feed
because
her
she had the
anymore.
baby
Yeah.
to breastfeed, and she was like, "No, I don't do that anymore. Like, I'm not breastfeeding you. You're 8. I'm breastfeeding the
Yeah.
baby now." And she gets mad and tries to smother the baby.
And then when
Yeah.
Carolina confronts Dagmar with like, you did it because I wasn't feeding her, huh? That's why you did it. And she's like, no. And it's like, ah,
Yeah, by
the
did it,
fuck
she
up
means
with
take the
this.
baby that she was taking care of, and like, oh, I found a home for it.
And it gets to the point where, like, even once Carolina knows what Dagmar's doing, she still is like all in of like, well, yeah, we're doing, like Adrian said, we're doing what people won't do, but is necessary. Here, you should do it. And she gives her a baby to essentially kill.
And she doesn't want to. Oh, that
She
was the
doesn't.
worst.
Yeah, like there was so much happening in that scene. Again,
Dagmar, what a
heavy,
again, triggers for
a
that
heavy
scene.
fucking movie.
But she like smothers the baby in her arms with like a bear hug, and it's filmed to look like a rape. I mean, if we're being quite honest, like it's filmed like a rape because this is being done. She's taking a life against Carolina's will, and it's
She's
very
making Carolina smother the baby by
Just-
smothering
yeah.
them both, like
yeah,
sandwiching the baby in between them both.
and then just gets up like another day. But the reason I brought all that up is to say that when this is happening, that little girl, the supposed daughter, is in the kitchen hearing all this, like covering her ears. How many times has this kid probably heard or seen a baby be killed? So it's the kid's in this horrible environment. It's just a shitty environment across the board.
And then that they adopt her at the end.
Yeah, you didn't like that?
I mean,
You could kind of see that coming.
I
like,
saw
to-
that coming.
To
I
give
saw
like
that coming.
a full circle, like, all right, like let's have some kind of like
But
optimism. I don't know.
I don't see. I was leaning more towards Erica on that. We're like, no, you're just raising a future serial killer now. Like,
Yeah.
This movie could
Well, and then
yeah.
what's the guy that comes to visit all the time?
You're
to have
talking.
fun.
Yeah.
Oh,
Dagmar's fun.
Dagmar's piece.
Well,
Yeah.
he even tells her when she tells him to get out, he tells her, he's like, she's not like you. And he told her right away, like, she doesn't have whatever you got going on inside of you.
Mhm.
She doesn't have it. And she didn't. Because she was resisting the entire time, like, was devastated. And then you get to that point where she forces her to smother the baby, and you're like, the
Yeah.
entire time, you're like, no.
Yeah. It was all very heavy. I think we can move on to our
I think we could promise you guys a happy movie the next time around.
I'm getting a call. I see that it's from my friend that I forgot to introduce, and they've been waiting. That was supposed to exemplify what I think about this movie, but I think you guys have a good idea. But nonetheless, let me introduce a friend of mine. Actually, I shouldn't say he's a friend because he's a crazy, like this Dagmar person.
Mhm.
And that is Kaiser Sosa from The Usual Suspects, Kevin Spacey's role. Here to let you know what I thought about The Girl with the Needle.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
So the reason I say that is because Dagmar, being the devil, convinced Caroline that she wasn't doing anything wrong, and that she was helping, and that she was providing a benefit to society, even before knowing that they were killing the babies. So I thought it's fitting that a serial killer explain the actions and my thoughts of this serial killer that we just watched. So with that, let's go to our double feature pairing. Considering Erica did a big zag on her last pairing of a heavy movie, I'm curious to
I'm
hear.
doing it again.
I'm curious to hear what your zag's going to be.
Put on the Goofy movie and be happy.
Another
Seriously.
another movie about parenting, huh?
Yes. Put on a happy parenting movie and put on the Goofy movie and just be fine with it.
Good correlation. One way to
Yeah.
parent and another way to parent.
Mhm.
Love it. Adrian, you got a double feature for this one?
Yeah, I went Cinderella Man. Because it went
Okay.
about like the Great Depression type, and so it was like tough time for people. And just the whole part of Cinderella Man where he has to like promise that he'll never give his kid away to somebody else that has heat in their home, and then his wife has to send his kid home to her sister's house because they have a heater and they don't. And he's like dreading it, like, oh, it's the exact opposite of The Girl with the Needle, like,
Yeah.
check
Was
out
that-
Cinderella Man, because it's about the Great Depression, and it can be rough, but it has a good moral and good type of people in it,
And that's with Russell Crowe, right?
Russell Crowe, yeah.
Russell Crowe.
And
yeah.
Renee Zellweger.
Renee. Who is Renee Zellweger? Okay. My double feature, I actually went a little bit more on the same track, but not as heavy, to The Godfather of shadow and horror, Alfred Hitchcock, and the movie Psycho. If you haven't seen Psycho, I'll try not to spoil it with what I'm going to say. I'll just say that it's such an old movie.
You can
guys
stay away
go
from it.
fucking see Psycho.
Wasn't that in the
goddamn it.
80s, like 89 or something?
Psycho has been around. They've had remakes made of Psycho. So if you haven't seen the original 1960 film, go ahead and do that. But I picked that movie because there also are mommy issues in that movie, to say the least, much of like Jorgen had. And it deals with a secret serial killer, realistically. So If you don't want something so heavy, maybe a little bit hard to say fun of a Hitchcock movie, but they are fun considering the genre. So go with
Take my
like
advice. Put on the goofy
just
movie.
go. It's time to draft stock. This is going to be tough as this is listen, guys, I'm excited. Moving forward, we'll pick movies where it's a bit easier to draft because I think our last three have been a bit of a challenge. But nonetheless, I have faith in you guys and in us that we can do it. So
Spin that wheel.
let me bring up my wheel. Wonderful wheel of cinema.
Wheel of Cinema.
I wish I could get rid of this. This isn't attractive over here. But anyways, here we go. All right. So first pick for drafting stock.
My little face is so funny. Oh,
Ooh, I
by a hair.
will take it. Excellent. Number 2 pick is
It's gonna be Adrian. I know how the algorithm works.
Conspiracy theorist Erica strikes again. Excellent.
Google, you're too predictable.
Who am I going to draft? Okay, excellent. Well, listen, these are obviously actors and a director that the American audience isn't familiar with. I tried to look up a little bit. Everyone has film credits from the actors, and the director has a few films they've made as well. You know, I'm going to go with I've got to go with Vic Carmen Sonne. I hope I said her last name right. She's our lead, Caroline. I thought she did a really good job considering what the movie was as far as capturing the emotions while still being a bit like being stoic yet very emotive at the same time, which I think is really hard to do. So I hope she gets a lot more projects out of this, and I'm taking Vic Carmen. Adrian, you're number 2.
All right, I'll go the director, Magnus Von Horn.
All right.
Yeah, he's already directed 13. This was his 13th, and he's actually written 8. So I think he has a flourishing career. He's gonna be doing more movies, more writing. So yeah, I'll take Magnus.
That's a good call. That's a good call. I mean, listen, if his movies are as heavy as this one, it might be tough, but we'll see. We'll see.
So I've seen a couple other Danish movies, and I could say like they do have that like vibe. Like they
tend to be heavier, or
just like gut punches.
Okay.
They're heavy. Yeah, they don't pull punches for sure.
Honestly, that's why I love international films sometimes, because it's something different. Like, granted, it might be hard to watch or heavy, but like, you know, you mentioned Avengers Endgame and Thanos, like, yeah, that's like popcorn stuff, you know, which is fine, which is enjoyable, which I'll admit I probably cried when that was Infinity War. Anyways, the point is, it's nice to have something.
You could
to
have
mix it
cried
up.
for Tony Stark.
Yeah, you're right. But I think Infinity War hit me hard when Peter was evaporating. Spoiler if you haven't seen that, but whatever. Okay, Erica.
You're talking about Adrian and spoilers. You're just throwing shit out.
Endgame's like 5 years old, and if you had any interest in Marvel, you've seen it, okay?
No, it's older than that, isn't it?
Is it 28? I thought it was like
It
2019.
came out before the pandemic, right?
2019, because our world became Endgame soon after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Erica, who you want here?
Can you help me with the name of the actress who plays Dagmar?
Yes, that is. Apologies
Yes.
again. Oh, you see
Wait,
it. You just want me to get hit by the bus. Okay.
Trine Dierholm.
I like it. Trine
Okay,
you actually
I'll
did that
take
last
that.
name pretty good.
Dierholm.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say it wrong, but I actually like the way Adrian said it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take her. I just, regardless if she's in anything else, just really liked her performance. Regardless how I felt about the movie. Like,
She's in a lot.
She's in a lot. She's got
63.
70. I've got
Oh, wow.
76 on my count, but that might
Oh
include
my
TV.
God.
Yeah, there's some TV. She's done some TV. Yeah.
But you know, as much as, like I said, this movie maybe didn't sit well with me, her performance, I thought she played a really good manipulator. Like
Absolutely.
and that's not that that's hard to do, but it's really nice to see it done well from a woman's perspective, because it's usually way more subtle when it comes to women versus when a man is a little bit more manipulative. I think for a lot of people, it's really easy to pick out when a man's manipulative, but it's a little bit
Interesting.
harder to pick. Well, on screen,
No,
I
I
would
hear you.
imagine. Because she wasn't really condescending. Like, she really believed that killing these babies was doing good. Like, she thought what she was doing was good.
Yeah, but she wasn't nice about the way she was going. She
No,
didn't treat her well. She didn't
no,
treat anybody well, you
no.
know?
That was the
But that's
circumstance.
also kind of like in that manipulative
Sure.
sense of like, I'm not going to treat anybody well, so this should not be a surprise to anybody. Like, that's manipulative in itself. You know
What
what
is
I
it?
mean?
Stockholm syndrome, right? Where you've been held with your captive too long. Like, I mean, there's some of that probably going on too.
Yeah.
All right. So that's drafting stock. We have our Commodus scale. I'm getting a sense of where this will go, but maybe Adrian, what's your Commodus scale? Up, even, or down? Down from Adrian. Erica, she's scratching her lip and then goes down. Okay, man, this is tough. I'm gonna go even. I think, like Erica said, there was a period of time watching this movie, and I was like, this does feel a little long. And I checked. The movie's only 2 hours, like 2 hours and 4 minutes, but it does feel a little long. So I agree they could have trimmed some of the fat there. But nonetheless, that is our review on The Girl with the Needle. The needle is not for a tattoo, as I thought initially. Anything else you guys want to speak on to the movie? We're good?
Just those trigger warnings. Just be prepared if you're going to go into that movie.
We will cover movies that are not as heavy as we move forward.
Happy movie.
Award season doesn't really cover a lot of high hope movies, feel good movies, but
I think
nonetheless.
it's just
And you
so
think it
troubling
would.
because you want a good story, you know?
Like,
Right.
you would think that, like, you know, Best Picture goes to, like, you know, a feel-good Kevin Costner movie where everything's all happy at the end.
Bro, it's
You
not
know?
1999 anymore. Like, come on, Kevin Costner. No.
I'm just, you know.
People aren't going to watch Kevin Costner. They're going to watch the likes of Zendaya and Tom Holland.
He
and
found that out the hard
and
way
Timmy.
when he came out with that movie that was very similar to Yellowstone.
Lone
and
Pine or
Horizon.
Horizon. Yeah.
Well, it didn't do well because nobody wants to watch that.
Well, nobody younger than 50, you know, is going to go to I mean, listen, I love Kevin Costner. He's done huge.
Doesn't sound
I'll
like
watch
it. You guys are hating.
I'll watch The Bodyguard 5 times over. Like, absolutely.
Listen, it's just
Field of Dreams.
we've got to evolve with the times. You know, your Anthony isn't going to tune in for Kevin Costner. I'll tell you that.
I'm just talking like those types of movies. You know,
I understand.
Like, and we're not getting that. We're getting real, and they're real. I appreciate real for what it is. It was a good movie in the sense that it shot well, invoked emotion. It was entertaining for somewhat. So I mean, it's a good movie, just tough to watch because of the storyline. Like, and not that it was a bad storyline. It's accurate, and it's a little too real for me and my fancy. Like, that's what I watch movies for, is to get away from the real life. Like, I don't want.
Let me do a feel good question to wrap us up here. What's your favorite hard to watch movie? You know what I mean? Like, you have your Requiems of a Dream. You have your any Ari Aster movie, really. You know, is there anything that comes to mind where, like, I'd even argue The Green Mile.
I mean, The Fox and the Hound was pretty heavy for me as a little kid, man. I think that shit was pretty traumatizing, to be honest.
You know what? That's a good pick. I think The Green Mile is really, I mean,
I thought you were going Fox and the Hound like me, but okay. Green Mile.
It's something that I'll definitely watch.
Yeah.
But that is still that's another heavy movie.
Yeah.
You know? There's
a
a lot of things that go on in that movie that are very, like, heavy on the heart.
I think my vote is going to a movie called Spun. Speaking of our boy John Leguizamo, he's in that. Brittany Murphy. Talk about a dark, don't feel good movie about the drug underground drug world and the abuse of it and what it does to people. And
Ooh, End of Watch. End of Watch was a tough one to watch.
That's the cop one, right?
That is the cop one. Yeah.
I'm gonna change my answer. A Walk to Remember. I can't watch that
It's too
movie
emotional.
without bawling my eyes
Yeah,
out.
yeah, different, hard to watch.
Yeah.
Well, we'll wrap up there. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Please do like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube, which is at Seen This Pod. Also, Blue Sky, Letterbox, Seen This Pod. Instagram, where we have our voting polls for our drafts, a lot of other fun clips from our show, is Instagram handle. What is it? Seen This .pod. And if you want just a one-stop place for everything, seenthispod.com. Check us out. Appreciate you guys. We're 8 follows away from 100 on Instagram. Exciting times.
That's so cool.
Our prison draft movie has been our most watched video on YouTube.
Of
You're
course,
welcome,
it's the
guys. You're
one
welcome.
I'll fucking win.
I'm sure that's why everyone tuned in. They're like, "Oh, this guy Adrian, he's
He's on
probably
it.
got some.
He's really
on
got
it."
some comments, loud nose breathing.
And they're probably
That was
like,
good.
Erica, what is going on?
Yeah, well,
Actually, I talked to my aunt this weekend, Super Bowl, and she was like, I really like Erica on your podcast.
Oh,
and I was like,
my
are you serious? You don't even like me? She was like, no, I like
Hey.
Erica. She's funny.
Erica's got a fan base. She's got a fan base. You're gonna have to come up with a
Dang,
name
thanks,
for your
Thea.
followers. You're gonna have to come up with a name for Erica's followers.
I'm dead. That's so funny.
Tune in next time where Erica gets her clan name.
No.
Oh, clan. Maybe that's a bad term.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Stay safe.